The quantum analyzer's soft hum filled Sarah Chen's research station as another set of anomalous signals scrolled across her holographic display. After 3 years of scanning deep space for signs of extraterrestrial intelligence, she'd learned to trust her instincts. These patterns were different, deliberate, structured, unlike anything she'd seen before. "Computer, run detection algorithm Beta 7, she commanded, her dark eyes fixed on the shifting data streams. The station's AI complied silently, casting a blue glow across her face as it processed the complex calculations. A crash from the station's cargo bay shattered her concentration. Sarah froze. At this remote outpost on Europa, Jupiter's ice-covered moon, she was supposed to be alone. Her heart pounding, she grabbed the emergency plasma torch from her desk, not exactly a weapon, but better than nothing. The cargo bay doors hissed open as she approached, plasma torch raised. "Hello," she called out, cursing herself immediately for the classic horror movie mistake. But what she saw made her drop the torch entirely. A tall figure stumbled from behind a stack of supply crates. Its skin shimmered with an iridescent purple sheen, like oil on water. Humanoid, but definitely not human. 4 arms ended in elegant fingers, and its eyes, all 3 of them, fixed on Sarah with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Please," it spoke, the universal translator at Sarah's belt, converting its melodic language. "I mean no harm. I need help." The alien swayed, revealing a nasty gash across its torso that oozed silvery blood. Sarah's scientific curiosity warred briefly with her survival instinct before her medical training took over. "Sit down before you fall down," she ordered, already reaching for the first aid kit. The alien complied, slumping against a crate. "I am Kevex. He, based on the translator's pronoun choice, said as Sarah examined the wound. 4th scion of the High Sovereign House of Valax. His 3 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture Sarah would later learn indicated severe stress. "Sarah Chen, xenobiologist, and apparently now xenodoc," she replied, applying a universal coagulant patch. "Want to tell me how a royal alien ended up bleeding in my cargo bay?" Kavex's skin rippled, changing from purple to a deeper indigo. "I departed my transport without permission. My people believe this sector to be inhabited only by primitive savages. No offense intended." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Offense somewhat taken. This primitive savage is currently keeping you from bleeding out." Her tone was light, but she noticed how Kavex's skin flickered with embarrassment. "My apologies. I'm learning my people's assumptions about humans may be flawed." His eyes focused on the quantum analyzer's display behind her. "You were studying our communication signals." Sarah's scientific excitement returned full force. "Your signals. I've been tracking them for weeks. The mathematical complexity is fascinating, but I couldn't crack the underlying pattern." "Because they're encrypted using quantum phase variations," Kevex finished. His expression shifted to something Sarah couldn't quite read. "You detected, isolated, and began decoding our secure channels using this modest equipment." "Modest?" Sarah gestured around the station. "This is one of Earth's most advanced research facilities." Kavex's skin rippled with what might have been amusement. "Your capabilities are surprising. Perhaps this is why." He stopped, wincing as he shifted position. "Why what?" Sarah pressed, checking the coagulant patch. "Why certain factions among my people are so afraid of humans," he admitted. "Your species is young, yet you advance at an alarming rate. Some believe you must be contained before you become a threat." Sarah sat back on her heels, processing this. "Is that why you're here? To assess the threat we pose?" "No," Kevex's skin darkened further. "I am here because I refuse to accept everything I was taught about humans without seeing for myself. And because," he hesitated, "because I'm expected to make choices that will affect both our peoples, and I cannot do so from within a bubble of ignorance and prejudice." The quantum analyzer beeped, drawing their attention. New signals, stronger than before. Kvek's eyes widened. They're searching for me, he said quietly. The High Sovereign's forces. They cannot find me here. Your station would be considered contaminated, scheduled for immediate sterilization. Sarah thought quickly. The station had shielding designed to protect sensitive equipment from Jupiter's radiation, with some modifications. I can hide you, she said, already moving to the control panel. But in exchange, you're going to tell me everything about your people, your technology, and why you really ran away. Kvek watched her work, his 3 eyes tracking her swift, precise movements. You would risk yourself to help me, even knowing my people consider yours savage. Sarah flashed him a grin as she rerouted power to the shields. Nothing proves someone wrong quite like saving their life. Besides, she met his gaze. I spent my career searching for intelligent life among the stars. I'm not about to pass up the chance to study it up close. Kvek's skin shifted to a shade she hadn't seen before, a soft rose gold that seemed to glow from within. You are not what I expected, Sarah Chen. Good, she replied, finalizing the shield modifications. Now let's see if we can't change a few more expectations. As the search signals passed harmlessly over the station, Sarah had no way of knowing that this encounter would change not just her life, but the destiny of 2 civilizations. She only knew that the alien prince watching her with growing fascination was a discovery of a lifetime, and possibly the most interesting person she'd ever met. The real question was, what would they discover about each other? Forbidden romance. 2 weeks after Kvek's arrival, Sarah found herself explaining yet another primitive human concept to the fascinated alien prince. So laughter is a social bonding mechanism. Kvek asked, his skin shimmering with curiosity as he watched Sarah prepare their evening meal. Not a warning signal. Usually not, Sarah chuckled, adding spices to the synthesized protein. Though I suppose some laughs could count as warnings. Haven't you ever just found something funny? Kvek's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. Valaxians express amusement through color harmonics. Like this, his skin rippled in waves of blue and gold, creating mesmerizing patterns. Beautiful, Sarah breathed, momentarily forgetting the food. She'd grown fascinated by Kvek's chromatic displays, each one revealing emotions his formal manner tried to hide. But you still haven't answered my question about why you really fled your transport. The colors faded to a muted purple. You are persistent, Dr. Chen. Sarah, she corrected automatically. And yes, persistence is another primitive human trait. Along with sarcasm, his skin flickered with what she now recognized as amusement. Very well, Sarah. The truth is complicated. I'm a xenobiologist hiding an alien prince in a research station. I think I can handle complicated. Kvek moved closer, his natural grace making the station's artificial gravity seem irrelevant. I am betrothed, he said quietly, to unite 2 noble houses and prevent a political crisis. Sarah ignored the unexpected pang in her chest. Arranged marriage. And here I thought your people were advanced. Says the savage who believes in choosing mates based on temporary chemical reactions, Kvek teased, but his colors darkened. The union would grant my intended access to classified genetic research involving humans. Sarah's hand froze over the food synthesizer. What kind of research? Methods to ensure humans remain containable. Some Valaxian nobles fear your potential. They've seen how quickly Earth adapts our discarded technology, how rapidly you evolve. They believe preventing human advancement is crucial to galactic stability. And you disagree? I believed I did not have enough information to judge. Kvek's skin shifted to that rose gold shade she'd seen before. Now, after observing you, after seeing your ingenuity, your passion for discovery, your ability to find joy in understanding rather than fear indifference, I know they are wrong. Sarah turned to face him fully. Is that why you ran? To prevent this research? Partially. His 3rd eye fixed on her, while the others scanned the room. A Valaxian gesture she'd learned indicated deep emotion. But I also ran because I could not bear the thought of being bound to someone who sees the universe through fear rather than wonder. The air between them seemed to crackle with unspoken possibilities. Sarah became acutely aware of how close they were standing, how the station's lights played across his iridescent skin. A harsh beeping shattered the moment. The quantum analyzer had detected new signals. Multiple ships, Kivek said, reading the display. They're establishing a search pattern around Europa. Sarah's mind raced. We need to adjust the shield harmonics. If they're using different frequencies. There's more. Kivek's colors paled. That signal pattern, it's the royal fleet. My father has come himself. The High Sovereign, here. Sarah's heart pounded. What happens if they find us? Best case, I'm taken home in disgrace, and your memory wiped. Worst case, his skin went almost grey. They determine you know too much about our civilization and decide to eliminate the security risk. Sarah squared her shoulders. Then we better make sure they don't find us. She moved to the control panel, but Kivek caught her arm with one of his lower hands. Sarah, his skin pulsed with colors she'd never seen before. I cannot ask you to risk yourself further. Perhaps if I surrender. Not happening. She placed her hand over his, marveling at how natural it felt despite their differences. You trusted me with your secrets and your life. Trust me now. Their eyes met, and something shifted between them, something that transcended species and culture and duty. Kivek's skin blazed with that beautiful rose gold, brighter than ever. If they discover us, he started, then we'll face it together. Sarah smiled. After all, we savages are pretty good at beating impossible odds. As they worked to modify the shields, their hands brushing occasionally, Sarah realized two things. First, she was definitely falling for an alien prince, which would probably look terrible on her next grant application. And second, she didn't care. What she didn't realize was that high above Europa, aboard the flagship of the Royal Fleet, the High Sovereign of Valax was about to learn that his son had done more than just run away. He had fallen in love with a savage, and that love was about to change everything. The real question was, would it change things for better or for worse? The discovery. Sarah stared at the medical scanner's display, running the test for the fourth time. The results remained unchanged. Impossible, she whispered, though 3 years of xenobiology research had taught her that impossible was often just another word for unprecedented. The station's lights dimmed briefly as another Valaxian patrol passed overhead. After 2 months of cat and mouse with the Royal Fleet, she and Kivek had gotten good at hiding. Good at living in close quarters. Good at, well, that was part of the current situation. Sarah? Kivek's voice carried from the main lab. The shield modifications are holding, but... He stopped in the doorway, his skin shifting rapidly through shades of concern as he saw her expression. What's wrong? She took a deep breath. Remember how you said Valaxians and humans couldn't produce offspring? That were too genetically different. Yes, it's one reason the nobles consider your species. His 3 eyes widened simultaneously. No. Sarah turned the display toward him. Yes. Kivek moved with inhuman speed, all 4 hands reaching for the scanner. His skin blazed with colors Sarah had never seen before, brilliant golds and deep violets swirling together. This is, he paused, searching for words. Impossible, Sarah suggested. Magnificent. His skin settled into that familiar rose gold she'd come to associate with joy. Do you understand what this means? That I'm apparently carrying a hybrid baby that shouldn't exist. Yes, I got that part. No. Well, yes, but more than that. Kivek's excitement made his colors pulse. This proves what I've theorized about human adaptability. Your DNA isn't just compatible with ours, it's actively harmonizing, creating something entirely new. Sarah placed a hand on her still flat stomach, creating something that's going to cause an interstellar incident when your father finds out. Kivek's colors dimmed slightly. My father, yes. The High Sovereign who believes humans are savages who must be contained, who arranged my marriage to prevent human advancement. His third eye fixed on her, while the others darted around the room. Deep emotion. Who will soon become a grandfather to a half-human child. We could run, Sarah offered, though she already knew his answer. Find some remote colony. No, Kavex's skin shifted to the determined blue she'd first seen when he refused to let her face the patrols alone. We've been hiding not just from my father, but from the truth. This child. His lower hands gently covered hers on her stomach, while his upper hands cradled her face. This child is proof that our peoples aren't meant to fear each other. We're meant to grow together. That's beautiful, Sarah said, also possibly naive. Your father has an entire fleet trying to find you. Then let him find us. Kavex's colors strengthened. On our terms, with proof that everything he believes about humans is wrong. Sarah raised an eyebrow. And how exactly do we do that? We surrender. That doesn't sound like a great plan. Not surrender to the fleet, Kavex clarified. We go directly to the palace on Verlax. My mother will grant us an audience. She's always been more curious about humans than father. And once they see us, understand what we've discovered, they'll either accept us or execute us. Sarah's scientific mind was already racing ahead, considering possibilities. Wait, the quantum signals. If we could broadcast on the royal frequency. Kavex's skin rippled with pride. This is why I love you. Always finding solutions where others see only problems. Sarah froze. It was the first time either of them had used that word. Kavex noticed her reaction, his colors shifting to uncertainty. I apologize if I spoke too directly. Verlaxian courtship usually involves years of color harmonization before such declarations. Sarah pulled him down into a kiss, still marveling at how natural it felt despite their differences. When they parted, his skin was glowing that beautiful rose gold. I love you too, she said, even if you are a rebellious alien prince with questionable survival instincts. And I love you, he replied, even if you are a brilliant savage who's carrying our impossibly perfect child. They worked through the night, modifying the quantum analyzer to broadcast on the secure royal frequency. As dawn broke over Europa's icy surface, they had their message ready. To the High Sovereign and Royal Consort of Verlax, Sarah read from the prepared text. Your son is safe and wishes to present you with news that will change both our civilizations. We request an audience and your blessing. Kavex added the royal authentication codes that would prove to his parents that this wasn't a trick or coercion. His skin had settled into a calm blue she recognized as determination. Ready? He asked. Sarah placed her hand over the transmitter. Your father's going to be furious. Absolutely. Kovex's colors flickered with amusement, but he's about to learn that his future grandchild has inherited humanity's greatest trait. Our savagery. Your inability to accept limitations. His three eyes fixed on her with pure love. Send it. Sarah pressed the transmitter. As their message beamed across the solar system, she wondered what Kavex's parents would make of their savage future daughter-in-law and the impossible miracle she carried. The answer would come sooner than they expected, and it would change everything. Meeting the in-laws. The Verlaxian royal palace defied Earth architecture in every possible way. Instead of rising from the ground, it descended from the clouds, a gleaming inverted spire of crystal and light that seemed to pour from the sky like a frozen waterfall. As their shuttle approached, Sarah fought to maintain her scientific composure. Breathe, Kavex murmured, his lower right hand finding hers. Your heart rate is elevated. Really, can't imagine why. I'm just about to meet my alien in-laws who think I'm a savage while carrying their impossible grandchild. Totally relaxing situation. Kavex's skin rippled with affectionate amusement. Remember, let me speak first. Royal protocol. Must be observed even when announcing interspecies pregnancies. Yes, You've mentioned that about 12 times. The shuttle docked with impossible grace at one of the palace's crystalline platforms. Sarah straightened her Earth formal wear, carefully chosen to project sophistication while accommodating the slight swell of her stomach. At 3 months, the pregnancy was progressing faster than a human one, but slower than a Valaxian gestation. Ready? Kavex asked, his skin shifting to diplomatic blues and golds. Sarah squared her shoulders. Let's go meet the parents. The throne room took Sarah's breath away. The ceiling was a living star map, constellations shifting and flowing in real time. The floor seemed to be made of liquid light, yet supported their weight perfectly. And at the far end, the High Sovereign of Valax made his son look small, nearly 3 meters tall, his skin rippling with imperial purples and silvers. He fixed all 3 of his eyes on Sarah with laser intensity. Beside him, the royal consort sat with more relaxed posture, her colors a subtle dance of curious greens and blues. Kavex performed a complex bow. Sarah, after weeks of practice, managed a passable imitation. Father, mother. Kavex's voice carried perfectly in the vast space. I present to you Dr. Sarah Chen of Earth, xenobiologist, my chosen mate, and... Silence. The High Sovereign's voice felt like thunder without sound. His skin darkened to storm cloud gray. You dare bring a savage into the sacred heart of Valax. I dare bring the mother of your grandchild into her rightful place, Kavex replied, his colors unwavering. The royal consort leaned forward slightly. Impossible. The genetic barriers have been overcome, Sarah spoke up, earning a gasp from the attending courtiers. Speaking before being addressed was apparently another protocol violation. Through a natural process that suggests our species are more compatible than previously believed. It speaks, the High Sovereign rumbled disapprovingly. She speaks, Kavex corrected, because she is a brilliant scientist who has already advanced our understanding of cross-species genetics beyond what our superior civilization managed in centuries. The royal consort's colors shifted to deeper green, curiosity overcoming protocol. You claim this human carries a viable hybrid child. Sarah pulled out her modified medical scanner. I can prove it. The genetic markers are clear, showing successful DNA harmonization that shouldn't be possible. Unless all our assumptions about human limitations were wrong, Kavex finished. The High Sovereign rose to his full height, his colors dark with anger. You expect us to believe this convenient miracle. This is clearly a ploy to avoid your responsibilities, your arranged marriage. My responsibility is to truth, Kavex interrupted. The truth that humans aren't savages to be feared and contained. They're a young species, yes, but one with incredible potential. Sarah proved that by detecting our quantum signals with modified Earth technology, by helping me when she could have turned me in, by carrying a child that represents the future of both our peoples. A future you would deny, Sarah added, earning another scandalized gasp from the court. Your research program to contain human advancement. How much progress have you actually lost by refusing to work with us as equals? The royal consort stood, moving with liquid grace to examine Sarah's scanner. Her colors shifted rapidly as she processed the data. Fascinating, she breathed. The genetic integration is unlike anything in our records, and you achieve this through natural reproduction. Sarah felt her cheeks heat. Yes. Apparently love finds a way. A ripple of color changes swept through the court at the word love. The High Sovereign's darkness deepened. Love, you speak of love with a woman who has proven herself worthy of our son in every way. The royal consort interrupted, her colors brightening. Look at these readings, my love. The child they've created, it's not just viable, it's perfect. The High Sovereign didn't move, but Sarah noticed his colors shifting slightly. The political implications are exactly why this is a blessing, Kavex said. What better way to prove humans deserve acceptance and through family? What better ambassador than a child of both worlds? Sarah stepped forward, one hand resting protectively over her stomach. Your Majesty, you can continue seeing humans as savages to be contained, or you can be part of building something new, something wonderful. The choice is yours, but your grandchild will exist either way. The only question is whether they'll know their grandfather's love. The throne room fell silent. The High Sovereign's colors churned like a storm at sea. Finally, he spoke. You dare lecture me on love, on choice? His voice was quieter now, but no less intense. You, who seduced my son away from his duties. Father, Kivek started, but Sarah touched his arm. No, he's right, I did seduce you. Sarah smiled. With my savage human traits like intelligence, compassion, and the ability to see beauty in difference. Terrible qualities in a daughter-in-law, I'm sure. For a moment, no one moved. Then, incredibly, the High Sovereign's colors shifted, just slightly, just enough. The royal consort laughed, a sound like crystal wind chimes. Oh, I like her. It wasn't acceptance, not yet, but as Sarah met the High Sovereign's three-eyed gaze without flinching, she saw something change in their depths. Recognition, perhaps, or resignation, or maybe, just maybe, the beginning of understanding. The future of two civilizations hung in the balance, and at its heart, growing stronger every day, was the impossible child who would bridge them both. Trial by culture. The trials of ascension have existed for 10,000 years, the royal consort explained as she led Sarah through the palace's crystalline corridors. No outsider has ever completed them. So no pressure, Sarah muttered, one hand absently touching her growing belly. At 4 months, a hybrid pregnancy was becoming more visible, her body adapting in ways that fascinated the royal physicians. The High Sovereign believes you will fail, the consort continued, her colors shifting to what Sarah had learned was diplomatic concern. Perhaps, given your condition. I'm pregnant, not incapable. Sarah squared her shoulders. What's first? The first trial chamber took her breath away. The floor was gone, replaced by floating platforms of light that shifted and moved in complex patterns. At the far end, a crystal pulsed with rainbow energy. The trial of grace, the consort announced. Reach the crystal without falling. Simple. Simple for a Valaxian, maybe. Sarah watched the platforms dance through the air, calculating velocities and patterns. The drop below seemed endless. And if I fall? The gravity field will catch you. The consort's colors flickered with what might have been amusement. Eventually. Sarah took a deep breath, remembering Kovex's words. They expect you to think like a Valaxian. Don't. She studied the platforms again, this time not as obstacles, but as data points. The pattern wasn't random, it was a multidimensional equation expressed through movement, and as she was right. Sarah began to move, not trying to match Valaxian grace, but instead stepping to the rhythm of the platforms themselves. Each jump was calculated, letting the pattern carry her forward. When platforms shifted, she was already moving to where they would be, not where they were. The consort's colors shifted to surprise as Sarah reached the crystal in record time. How did you? I'm a scientist, Sarah explained, slightly out of breath. Patterns are patterns, whether they're in genetic code or floating platforms. The second trial was subtler. A room full of alien artifacts, each emitting different energy signatures. Choose the one that poses the greatest threat, she was instructed. Sarah moved carefully among the objects, her modified scanner humming. Some radiated obvious power, others seemed inert, but something wasn't right. None of them, she finally declared. Explain. They're all parts of a whole. Sarah pointed to the subtle resonance patterns. Together, they're building towards something. The real threat isn't any single piece, it's not seeing how they connect. The consort's colors danced with approval, a lesson many Valaxians never learn. The third trial was the hardest. Sarah found herself in a chamber with a young Valaxian child whose colors swirled with distress. Help them was her only instruction. Sarah approached carefully, noting the child's erratic color patterns. Traditional Valaxian customs were useless here. The kid was clearly past protocol. So she did what any human would do. She sat down on the floor, making herself smaller, less threatening. "Hey there," she said softly. "Rough day." The child's colors stabilized slightly. They spoke in broken English, a surprise. "You, the savage mother." "That's me. Though I prefer Sarah," she smiled. "Want to tell me what's wrong?" "Can't control." The child's colors spiraled chaotically. Emotions wrong. Colors wrong. Failure. Sarah understood. The rigid control Valaxian society demanded was crushing this little one's spirit. "You know what I think." She kept her voice gentle. "I think your colors are beautiful. They're honest. Real feelings aren't neat and tidy. They're messy and complicated and absolutely perfect exactly as they are." The child stared at her with all three eyes. "But protocol." "Protocol is important," Sarah agreed. "But so is being true to yourself. Look." She placed a hand on her stomach. "This baby is going to be something entirely new. Not purely Valaxian, not purely human. And that's what makes them amazing." The child's colors slowly settled into a kaleidoscope pattern Sarah had never seen before, unique but harmonious. "Beautiful," she said, and meant it. The final trial was deceptively simple. Sarah stood before a mirror that showed not her reflection, but her deepest fears. She saw herself rejected, her child ostracized, war between Earth and Verlax. "What do you see?" the consort asked. "The future," Sarah answered honestly. "One possible future, but not the only one." She stepped forward, placing her hand on the mirror. The images shifted, showing other possibilities. Her child bringing worlds together, humans and Valaxians working side by side, fear giving way to understanding. "The trial shows what you most fear," the consort said. "Why do you not turn away?" "Because that's not the human way." Sarah kept her eyes on the changing images. "We face our fears. We learn from them. We use them to build something better." The mirror shimmered and became just a mirror, showing Sarah as she was, a pregnant human woman standing tall in an alien palace, tired but undefeated. The consort's colors blazed with emotion she didn't try to hide. In 10,000 years, no one has ever passed all 4 trials on their first attempt. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. First time for everything. That's kind of humanity's specialty. As they walked back to the royal chambers, the consort spoke softly. "You understand this changes nothing with the High Sovereign. Tradition demands all 4 trial outcomes be unanimous among the royal observers." "I understand." Sarah's hand found her belly again, feeling the flutter of movement within. "But I didn't do this for him. I did it for my child, and for all the children who will come after, human and Valaxian alike. They deserve a future without barriers." The consort's colors shifted to that same rose gold she often saw in Kvex. "Perhaps," she said, "we have been the savage ones, failing to see what was right before us." Sarah thought of the young child with their beautiful, chaotic colors. Or maybe we all have something to learn from each other. What neither of them knew was that news of Sarah's triumph was already spreading through the palace, carried on waves of shifting colors and whispered conversations. Change was coming to Verlax, ready or not. And in the royal chambers, watching the trial recordings with his 3 eyes wide, the High Sovereign was beginning to realize that his son might have chosen better than anyone could have imagined. Revolution of love. News travels fast in a society where emotions are displayed in colors. Within days of Sarah's unprecedented success in the trials, the palace was awash in new hues, colors of change, curiosity, and possibility that had never been seen in its ancient halls. Sarah stood at the window of their royal quarters, watching the city's floating spires shimmer in the alien sunset. Behind her, Kvex was reviewing the latest medical scans with a team of increasingly excited physicians. Remarkable, the chief medical officer's colors pulsed with scientific wonder. The child's DNA shows perfect stability. The human adaptive traits have integrated with Valaxian chromatic abilities in ways we never thought possible. More importantly, added a younger doctor, her colors bright with enthusiasm, the genetic merger suggests potential medical breakthroughs. Human cellular regeneration combined with our chromatic healing could revolutionize treatment for both species. Kavex's skin rippled with pride as he joined Sarah at the window. "You're changing their minds without saying a word," he murmured. Actually, Sarah turned to face the medical team. "I have quite a few words. When are we going to discuss the classified research program aimed at containing human advancement?" The room's colors shifted to uncomfortable grays. "The High Sovereign has forbidden," the chief medical officer began. "The High Sovereign is about to become grandfather to a child who proves that containment isn't just wrong, it's impossible." Sarah's voice was firm but kind. "You've seen the genetic analysis. Humans and Valaxians aren't meant to be separate. We're meant to grow together." "It's true." A new voice joined them. The royal consort entered, her colors shimmering with purpose. "Which is why I've called an emergency session of the Noble Assembly." Kavex's colors flashed with surprise. "Mother." "The young ones are already calling it the Rose Gold Revolution," she said, using the color they'd all come to associate with love between the species. "They're demanding changes to our contact protocols with Earth. The old guard is resistant." "Father?" Kavex asked quietly. The consort's colors dimmed slightly. "He's considering options." Sarah understood the diplomatic understatement. The High Sovereign was losing control of his carefully ordered society, and it was all her fault, or rather, her baby's fault. As if on cue, she felt a strong kick. The medical team's colors brightened with excitement. They could actually see the child's emotions reflected in subtle color shifts across Sarah's skin, a development that had stunned everyone. "The assembly meeting is tomorrow," the consort continued. "They've requested your presence." "Both of us?" Sarah asked. "All three of you." The consort's colors softened. The child's genetic scans have already been distributed throughout the medical community. They're calling it the Unity Sequence, proof that our species can achieve more together than apart. The young doctor stepped forward, her colors bold. "Some of us have already begun reaching out to human medical institutions, sharing our findings." Without authorization, the chief medical officer's colors darkened with alarm. "The time for secrets is over," Kavex said firmly. "Sarah, would you like to show them what you've been working on?" Sarah nodded, pulling up her research on the holographic display. "I've been analyzing the compatibility patterns we discovered. It's not just medical science that could benefit from collaboration." The display filled with potential applications, everything from environmental restoration to space exploration. "This is why they feared us, isn't it?" she asked softly. "Not because humans are savage, but because we don't accept limitations. We see barriers as challenges to overcome." And now that perspective is spreading among our own youth, the consort agreed. "The old questions are being asked again. Why not? Why can't we try? Why must things remain as they are?" The medical team's colors shifted through shades of revelation as they studied Sarah's research. The young doctor was already making notes, her colors practically vibrating with ideas. A gentle chime interrupted them. Time for Sarah's daily walk through the palace gardens, prescribed to help with the pregnancy. As they left their quarters, she noticed something different. The palace staff, usually so careful to maintain neutral colors, were displaying subtle hints of rose gold. In the gardens, a group of young Valaxians were practicing human gestures, smiling, laughing, even attempting to dance. They quickly straightened when they saw Sarah and Kavex, but their colors gave away their excitement. "You've started something," Kavex said, his own colors glowing with love. "Something bigger than us." "We started something," Sarah corrected, then laughed as the baby kicked again. "All three of us." They walked in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the planet's 3 moons rise. "The assembly tomorrow," Sarah finally said. "It could change everything." it already has. Kevex's colors shifted to match the sunset. But yes, tomorrow will determine how our peoples move forward. Father will have to take a stand, one way or another. Sarah touched her growing belly, feeling the subtle color shifts beneath her skin, their child already learning to express themselves in both human and Valaxian ways. You know what I think? She smiled at her alien prince. I think the High Sovereign is about to learn what humans call being a grandparent, and trust me, that changes even the most stubborn hearts. Above them, the stars emerged, the same stars that had brought them together, that had witnessed their impossible love. Tomorrow would bring challenges, but tonight, in a garden on an alien world, a human woman and her Valaxian mate watched their two civilizations begin to merge, one rose-gold heart at a time. The revolution had begun, and like their love, once started, it could not be contained.